So guys, another big fight announced in British boxing. Probably not to the same scale in terms of the fight itself and also in terms of the surprise. But nevertheless, this one I wasn't expecting. Dillian Whyte versus Dave Allen will fight on the Leeds undercard in approximately 3 weeks' time. So really decent fight in the context of the British heavyweight division. Eddie Hearn has tweeted to say that this will be for a minor WBC belt, I believe the WBC International, and that he is going to try his best to get it for the British heavyweight title. Previously, sorry, I've got some Harley Davidsons going around outside. Previously, the British Boxing Board of Control had said they didn't think Dave Allen had had enough experience to get a British title fight, and they would prefer to have seen Sam Sexton versus Dillian Whyte, which for my money was actually a far worse and less competitive fight. I actually much prefer this matchup against Dave Allen. So, first and foremost, credit goes to Dave Allen. I like Dave Allen. And credit goes for him for taking this fight. I've had a look at a few of his social media offerings since the fight was announced, and he's seeming to suggest that he was inspired somewhat by Kell Brook and by what happened yesterday, and that he wanted to take the fight. Obviously, taking it at 3 weeks' notice isn't ideal. Dave Allen is a heavyweight who in the past has blown up a little bit between fights, let's be honest. We've seen him stepping into the ring much heavier than he should have been. And it is a slight concern, that Dillian Whyte had a relatively big fight on a pay-per-view bill, 2-3 weeks ago, whereas whereas Dave Allen obviously hasn't been as active, and Dave Allen is obviously only getting 3 weeks notice. Having said that, Dillian Whyte, as we know, looked pretty average last time out. He didn't look like the world beater a lot of people were expecting him to. And I admit the opponent he was in against was a slippery, awkward guy who's always going to make for a terrible fight. So I'm not going to be too critical of Dillian Whyte for that. But, Dave Allen will be looking at that and he'll be thinking, if there's a time to catch Dillian Whyte, it's now. Because as much as Dave Allen isn't probably in the shape of his life, given that he's had 3 weeks' notice, let's not forget the shape that Dillian Whyte was in only a week or two ago, whenever it was in the Joshua Brazil undercard. Dillian Whyte weighed in a career heaviest, and to me, he looked like he was carrying a few extra pounds in that fight, definitely. So, I can see why Dave Allen's been inspired to take the fight. I give him credit for taking the fight, and it's an interesting fight. And do you know what? We were talking on the podcast the other day, and I said, do you know what? This Leeds bill is actually not a bad bill whatsoever for a standard Sky Saturday night show. And the more I think about it, this is actually a really decent bill. Warrington versus Highland is the headliner. Then you've got Tyrone Nurse versus Tommy Coyle, which is a fight that I very much like on the undercard. You've got Dave Allen versus Dillian Whyte, which is a really, really good fight as far as I'm concerned. And then you've got some others as well. You've got Luke Campbell on the undercard and a decent fight. One or two other names that slip my mind right at this precise second. But that Leeds bill is not a bad bill whatsoever. And this Dillian Whyte versus Dave Allen fight really, for me, does have potential to be fight of the night. These are two big heavyweights. They're both going to come forward. They're both going to throw bombs. Now, the key to me here to this fight is Dave Allen's chin. Because we have heard so much, both from Dave Allen and sparring rooms, etc., that Dave Allen has had a pretty exceptional chin. We know he's done multiple rounds with Anthony Joshua. I think he sparred with Dillian Whyte previously. And Dave Allen says he's not been dropped, not been hurt since the age of about 18. So potentially that's an interesting dynamic to this fight. We've seen Dillian Whyte before be very over-eager for the knockout. We've seen him load up on punches, look for single punches and throw very big bombs, very big haymakers. And if Dave Allen can frustrate Dillian Whyte, then certainly he's got a chance in this fight. Because for me, stamina is a concern for Dillian Whyte. Stamina is a real concern. I don't believe he's ever been beyond 7 rounds in the Anthony Joshua fight. And in that fight, his stamina looked very, very lacking for me. Now, granted, he did 6 rounds last time out. But that was what I'm saying is he did 6 rounds last time out, but that was a lower level opponent who hardly threw a punch against him and really allowed Dillian to dictate. It's going to be slightly different against Dave Allen, who's got ambitions of his own and is going to be trying to offer a bit more. Of course, Dave Allen needs to put his last performance behind him as well, which was a somewhat sloppy affair against Jason Gaverne. Dave Allen, for me, the key for this fight is that he doesn't smother his own work. potentially there's an advantage he can have in raw boxing with Dillian Whyte. Dillian Whyte for me is a bit wide, a bit sloppy, sometimes a bit slappy when he throws his punches. And if Dave Allen can keep the punches down the centre, straight punches, I think he could pick up some points here. The jab is absolutely key for Dave Allen. He's got to use his jab, not let this turn into a wrestling match, and etc. Dillian Whyte will start as the favourite for this fight, admittedly. Dillian Whyte's the bigger name. He's had the more high-profile matchups against Anthony Joshua, etc. He's known as the big puncher out of the two. But Dave Allen is not a fighter who should be dismissed here. He's unbeaten. He's got ambitions of his own, and he's a guy who potentially can have an advantage over Dillian Whyte in terms of the boxing, in terms of movement, in terms of jab. The late notice isn't ideal, but this is going to be an entertaining contest, and it's one of those where the press conference itself could be a really, really intriguing affair. So let me know your thoughts on this fight, guys. How did you see it going? Who would you pick to win at this early stage? Are you pleased it's made? And what do you think of the Leeds bill in total? I'll do a more in-depth breakdown of this fight nearer the time with a prediction. Need to rewatch some of the old tapes of both of these guys first. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you've enjoyed this, do hit the thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please press subscribe. Many thanks for watching.